Good morning, podcast community. We're on the Networking Matters podcast. Holy mackerel. We're not on a golf podcast and it's past Masters week. You're going to have to get your golf looking at the backgrounds of mine, and you're going to look at the background of a former collegiate scholar star at Kennesaw State University who has moved on to the business community, business world. And that journey has a couple lessons, and I'm going to have you introduce yourself in a second, Lucas, but I want to set us up for this. I heard a person say, Brendan Burchard, when you say no to something, it doesn't mean you didn't accomplish your goal. It means something was a higher priority. So if your journey is to be a professional golfer, maybe that journey will send you in a different direction, because you have to always recognize what's going on in your life, and your priorities always change. And so I think it's kind of cool that you came over here with a golf scholarship. You came over here to play golf. You had prepared yourself, but you all of a sudden pivoted and you went in a different direction. And I want our viewers to kind of grasp that, because life is all about pivots. I mean, it's taking your current your current priorities and adjusting it. And you have to recognize that. So Lucas, tell our viewers who you are, what you do, and who you serve.
So my name is Lucas Mota. I was born and raised in Spain. I came to the US when I was 18 with an athletic scholarship, like you said. I went to the University of West Georgia, spent there 3 years. Then I decided that I needed a bigger challenge, so I moved to Kansas State Division One school. Spent here 2 years, where I finished my undergrad and master's. And recently, I joined the labor force in the banking industry or M&A industry. And yes, like you said, golf takes you in many different ways. And I didn't quit golf and not planning on quitting golf at all. But I guess I found out a path to my game that perhaps fit better with me.
Yeah, and that's so. I want our viewers to kind of grasp that. That lesson is so profound, because we can have a goal and it could change, because life isn't a straight path. It's a bunch of curves and ups and downs and all this kind of, but you have to recognize, and I'm going to take our viewers back a couple of years when Rand introduced me to you, and he said, you got to meet this guy. And I said, okay, yeah, that's good. So he introduced us, and that was maybe a couple of years ago, year and a half, whatever it was. And so I got a chance to know you uh, from kind of a distance. I'm a little bit older than you are, so you have different perspectives in life. But I love the fact that when I told people the last podcast what your three things were, you know what their comment was? Dang, I wish I had figured that out in my 20s. That would have been profound. And I think the earlier we recognize how much hard work is hard work, no doubt. You can't skate to anything. You're going to have to work your butt off.
There's no
but
shortcut.
Your priorities will always change. And the reason I put us on the Networking Matters, it's kind of really about relationships matter. So I want you to share with our viewers, because your journey is your journey. Nobody has your journey. Nobody has your perspective. Nobody has your mindset. And as my friend said, wow, man, let me meet this guy. And I said, you can on the podcast, and then maybe in person. So because of my lack of remembering certain things, let's talk about the three things we talked about last episode. And I want to really zero in on that because it matters, because you are in that phase where you're going to, just like you did in golf, you crushed it in the golf world, you're about to crush it in the business world. So what would be the first thing that you would want our viewers to pull home as you make that transition from golf to business?
Well, I guess discipline, it's the first word that it's written on my nightstand.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that has taken me a long way, and it has taken me a long time to figure it out,
Mm-hmm.
because no matter what path do you follow or you want to pursue, you always need to have two or three things that doesn't change no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the side where you work on yourself. Working on yourself doesn't matter what path, what career are you pursuing, you can always do that. And that was the reason why I chose the first word.
I love it. And I love it. You know, it brings me back to the thought when Elon Musk bought Twitter, there was a culture of just sort of lackadaisical. Like, hey, I'll just show up when I want to show up. I'll be remote. I'll work whenever I want. And he ended up getting rid of 80% of Twitter. And you think of that, whoa, that's a lot of people. That's a bold move. But he then said, I want people that want to work. I want people that want to put the discipline, the work, the the work ethic to make this company a big company, a great company. And I think discipline, if you don't have discipline, then you're not going to succeed, because you wouldn't have gotten a scholarship to come here if you didn't have discipline in golf. Golf is probably the most incredible sport because it's you against the course, you against the world. You can't go to the sidelines and say, okay, come on in. It's your turn to shine.
Mm-hmm.
It's you. You're out there. The
Yeah.
world is focusing. I want you to comment on the Masters, Scotty Scheffler. He's been on a run. What do you think discipline has to do with his success? What's your comments on that?
I think that he has a very structured and established path outside golf, and a very specific mindset outside golf that makes him play with total comfort when he's on the course, no matter the pressure, no matter the tournament. And obviously, he strikes the ball very good. But I feel like it's the fact that he has his life figured it out outside golf that brings the comfort to the inside of the ropes.
I love that you said that. I didn't know you were going to say that. When my thought before the Masters, because his wife's getting ready to have a baby, your priorities always change when you start a family. People say, oh, now I don't have the time to put in. No, he's got a higher priority mindset that he can handle pressure now, because golf's the most stressful sport in a sense, because you can't bring on anybody else. And the article I read is after he lost last year, I think it was last year or the year before, he's won a Masters, but then he talked about being with his wife and breaking down. I mean, emotionally saying, I don't know if I'm ready for this. I mean, that's so profound, is that we have to be, we want to be ready, but we don't always are ready. And it's that mindset that I think is so important. And when I heard that, and when I knew his wife was getting ready to have a baby, I said, he's going to win this thing. Ain't no doubt about it. Now, he was a favorite. Everybody said that.
Yeah.
But it was that shift that he could handle the pressure. And you look at, the the way he handled adversity, double bogey in the number 10th hole, knocking it over. Those are the kind of things that knock people off. I mean, they crumble sometimes because they don't know how to handle the pressure. And the Masters is probably the biggest pressure cooker because everybody watches it, even non-golfers. Everybody knows every hole that's a golfer. Even the people that don't, they know the back nine at Augusta is where it all happens. And if you're not prepared mentally, you can see how things can go south.
Absolutely.
So I love that discipline. What are you doing now with your working, world? How are you implementing discipline in how you're working?
That's a very good question. So obviously, I started recently or within a short period of time to do all this. Like it's not that I've been with it for 3 or 4 years, right? So
Mhm.
it's still a discovery process for me, right? But I feel like the first way is to dress better. I feel like that's something that in the industry that I'm at, I've always want to put the best of myself. And when you dress better, um, you kind of like transmit better. And with me being young, it's definitely something that I have to balance it out, right? I have to make sure that I'm seen as older than I am,
Totally agree.
right? So that's the first disciplined thing that I wanted to do, which is present myself better,
And
whether it's
Mhm.
work or outside work.
Yes, because that first impression is a first impression. And I think our whole culture generally has gone to a more casual dress code. I mean, a friend of mine was in the suit business, and that trend was going down. People weren't wearing suits like they used to because for whatever reason that wasn't the 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 part of the concept. But it's still, you can still look good and be casual. I mean,
Oh yeah.
I think you come out of college. I mean, I dressed like a bum. I mean, because you just like, hey, what the heck, I'm in college, out of college. But you're right about that. You're now in the business world, and everybody you meet does that 10-second first impression evaluation. And if you show up and the shirt's on backwards, the hat's on backwards, and you're just like showing up like you're in college, they're not going to take you seriously because there is a bias there in the business world that you have to overcome, and you overcome it by giving your best, putting your best foot forward and being, I love that. What would you say the second thing that somebody just starting out needs to kind of, I love the core, what you said, these three things. So share with our viewers the second.
The second thing, it would be hard work, like we
Mhm.
talked. I feel like there's no shortcuts to anywhere. So definitely you just gotta put the time. And a lot of things it's a matter of time. And the only way that the thing that you are trying to accomplish becomes shorter is by putting more hours every day.
Mhm.
So I make sure that every time that I go to work, I make the most out of it.
Mhm. That's that's another, for a golfer's term, that's another hole in one. So, but let's drill it down, like the hard work aspect. And I remember, I think it was last week, the week before, whatever it was,
Hmm.
work was, you had a lot of things going on. You said, hey, we can't do a podcast. I believe in saying no and being good at it because only you know your priorities. And when life throws different things, oops, oh, I thought that
It
was
was it
me.
was my bad, my bad.
When life throws things at you, you have to recognize your priorities and say, no, I can't do it. You know, it's so we're part of somewhere like the yes culture. You want to say yes to everything. Somebody wants to do this, say yes. No, it's really being good at saying no, because only you know your priorities. The other person is asking you to do something doesn't know. They're just saying, man, I need Lucas to do this. Well, Lucas can't do this because he's working hard and he's disciplined, and his priorities are his priorities, not yours. And
Hmm.
I love when one person said, when you answer an email first thing in the morning, you're jumping into somebody else's priorities. You're basically saying, okay, what are this person? Hey, I need this back by 3 o'clock. Brendan Bouchard would say that. Okay, you say 3 o'clock, but is this 3 o'clock your 3 o'clock, or do you actually have to have it by three? And oh no, I didn't need it till the next day, but I just wanted to let you know that that I'm going to shift my priorities because I want you to be my priorities. No, it doesn't work that way. So you have to be working hard and be disciplined and ask those questions, because it's critical for you to create that lifestyle that you want. I love it. What would be the third thing? And then we'll talk about all three.
Well, the third thing, just being nice, being a nice person. I feel that whenever you transmit positivity and whenever you are willing to help and whenever you are willing to share with others, I feel everything comes back to you.
I couldn't, when you said that the last podcast, I was like, my jaw was dropping. Not, maybe it didn't drop on the podcast, but it was dropping in my mind, because I think that's I mean, it's not something people think about, because they just say, go out there and just do it, plow through it, step on whoever you got to step on to get wherever you want, that kind of mentality. But when it comes to being a nice person, what's the human reaction? I want to help this person. That person's nice. He's not always thinking of himself. It's like that narcissist, mindset, like self. What's in it for me? There's nothing wrong with you having your priorities, but if you're nice, I think that communicates a collaborative mindset with people, because if you're nice, people want to help you. If you're
Mhm.
not so nice, people run. They just like, hey, I don't want to be around this guy. All he does is think of himself, talks about himself. He's not a nice guy. He makes comments like, whoa, man, that's not a nice person. How did you come up with that? I mean, that's just
With the
blows
three words,
my feet. What's that?
with the three words.
The nice, the third one. Discipline,
Well,
hard work, and nice. Because I shared this with some of my business friends, and they go, "What? He actually that was one of his three?" I said, "Yes, yes, it was." And it's like that's not something you generally read in a book. I mean, it's
well,
like,
let me tell you something. It came out of a book.
okay, well, what was it?
Now,
What was the book? What?
the ideal team player.
Whoa, I've never heard of that.
So
Hey,
this, so the reason for those three words, for the people who don't know, I explained it briefly on the last podcast, but
uh-huh.
always on my nightstand, I had a quote, I had a word, I had something that I tried to implement in my life. I've been doing that for like a long time. And recently, I had this quote that it was for a long time already. And I read this book. And, everything that I'm doing right now, it's about being a team person. It's about making sure that I'm keeping everybody accountable, making sure that everybody likes each other, that we compensate everybody very well. So after reading the book gives you three words, right? I'm not gonna say the three words, but because I want everybody to read it. but there's a big picture with the three words, the three qualities that make someone a good team player. And from there, and adding my experiences and my little bit of knowledge and stuff, it was a mix of what I read and what I knew and what I felt it was right, and I came up with those three words. But being a nice person is one of them.
Man, I love it. Yeah, it's funny because I was thinking like that can't come out of a book. That's too simple, but it does. In that book, it's called The Team Player,
The ideal team player, yeah.
the ideal team player. So if you're looking to kind of shape your development, your philosophy, that seems like an awesome book because for you to kind of grab that, because I had a friend, this was many years ago, and he graduated from a nice university, and we were talking, and it was a comment, because I'm not going to mention his name, but it was like, oh, I'm through with school, man. I've done enough tests. I've read enough books. I'm finished. Like basically he was saying, I'm finished learning. And you're never finished learning. You
No.
learn every single day. And if you don't push the pedal to learn, because I had a guy on and he talked about in society today, I call it you're either on the CNN side or you're on the Fox side, and there's nothing in the middle. And so we feed what that belief. So if I'm watching CNN, I don't watch Fox. If I watch Fox, I ain't watching CNN. And we don't give ourselves a perspective of people. And that his comment was, if we could develop personally, like your responsibility is develop yourself, not the other person, yourself. You grow, you embrace those three things: discipline, hard work, and being nice. And you put them into practice, it's going to make a difference, a significant difference in your career. I mean, I am absolutely floored that I'm going to look at 10 years and you're going to make an impact in the business world that absolutely is going to be off the chain. And it's so cool to see because I'm a few years old. And so I have a perspective of a lot of years. And so you hear a lot of things. And when you hear somebody that's got it and that embraces those three principles, those foundational principles, it's crazy good. So I know you have work to do. You have hard work to do. You're disciplined, and you got to and you got to be nice today. So what would you say? And I'm not organized enough. If you want to get a hold of Lucas, give us, our viewers, your email address so they can email you if they want to know anything more or ask a question.
So it will be Lucas, Lucas, golfer, Golfer, one as number one, at gmail.com.
Ooh, I love it. I love it. Being number one in golf is a good number. And being number one in business is a good number too. So, what would you, as we wind down, what would you want our viewers, what would be the one thing you want them to take home with them today with this podcast?
um, Always be thinking on what's next, being always be thinking on what is that you want to accomplish in the future, and start making it happen now. So there's for everybody, there's a path that you want to follow, there's a vision that you have. So just make sure that you start implementing now the things that you want to do to get to where the point that you envision.
Wow, I love that. Dang, you're 4 for 4 today. That's pretty
I
good
can be a
batting.
philosopher.
Yes, exactly. Because I know back when I was in my 20s, I was like wild and didn't have any focus. I was just like, it was a mess. So, now when you look back, you kind of self-reflect and you go, dang, I needed to be more serious about what I wanted to accomplish, not just, go to parties, have a good time, and being undisciplined. And I was always a pretty nice guy. So, I mean, that one I had, but I didn't have discipline and hard work together, which are two valuable things to have to be successful. So I want to thank you, Lucas, for being with us. I probably need to put you on a different podcast because you're hitting to some heavy things, and I want our viewers to really grasp that. And if you know of anybody, I'm going to put this up a little pitch, podcasterpkane.com, or you can call me if you want to be a guest on the podcast. If you're in your 20s, and you feel you have something to share, reach out to us. We'll put you on the podcast. We'll put you on a general one. And then if you're a nice person, we'll invite you back because that's the way we do it. That's funny you say that because we've had people that I can kind of tell they're not a nice person, and I just thank them and I don't call them back. So we want a safe environment in our community of givers. We want you to come into our community, know that we have nice people, and nice people look out for each other. And when they say, man, Lucas, hey, I want to introduce you to this person because he's a nice person. He works hard and he's disciplined, shares your same philosophy. Then you start associating with good people who are going places. All right. Thank you so much, Lucas. Have an awesome day. And we appreciate you sharing those insights with our viewers. Thanks again. You bet.